to the room correction shootout.
Oh,
all right. Let's hear about that.
A lot of people did like the Arc and the Room Perfect. I was probably an outlier. I actually liked Dirac the best, surprising, because we didn't know at the time, and I was like, well, of course I'm the outlier always.
Okay, so you didn't know which one you were voting for?
No, we just, they did 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and everybody's like, okay, which one did everybody like? Blah 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 blah, and everybody said their thing, and then they named off which one was which.
Okay, so the top one, what were the results?
There was no tabulation, so everybody had their own theory or thought on it.
It was just in the room, the most. If you were in that room at that particular thing, and that's going to be a suggestion I have for like any of these shootouts in the future, is have pre-printed non-named, like don't even put your name. You get one tab, and because some people don't even know what to look for as far as like video. It's like, hey, in this scene where you're looking for black levels, in this scene you're looking for color, in this scene you're looking for tethering or dithering or whatever the case may be.
That's like the rating card I got at the TV shootout.
So what do you think, Tim? As far
okay, so I would take the Lindorf or Dirac definitely over Audyssey.
Okay,
minus Joe Magic Beans.
I was hoping. I'm like, when I saw that shootout, I didn't know that shootout was happening. I'm like,
you should have gone there, dude, and represented the bean theory, the magic bean theory.
No, I wouldn't have had time.
Hey, I would have. I could have logged in real quick. Like, let me
just
log
have a can of beans. Like, this is button number 5 is a can of beans. Like,
hey, that's a tough room that they were trying to calibrate for, though. So that's why I'm like, oh, this is going to trip up some of these.
And that is part of it, right? Because what if most of your room correction, you need to have a semi good room, like not a perfect room, but a pretty good room to start with for it to even, because you can only correct so far automatically, you know.
Yeah. Well, I have a feeling that most of them are going to use a particular target curve, assuming a kind of like typical room. But because it was so atypical, right? Like, how high were those ceilings? How big was the room?
Oh, God.
The ceilings had 12, 15?
Oh, no, way more than it. Those things were like 25 foot. Yeah, they were way up there.
So really,
my ceiling's 12 foot, and they were at least twice as tall as my ceiling.
And so there's no rug, there's no soft anything to kind of absorb
it's a bunch of hard surfaces.
They had stage curtains on the left and the back, which stage curtains. Okay, they're thicker than home curtains, but they're not absorbed. They're not an inch thick or a quarter inch or anything like that. They're just heavy curtains.
So I just figured, for sure that would trip up most auto room corrections. Mm-hmm. So what were the differences that you guys heard between them? Like,
okay, so Audyssey, I'll just take this. Audyssey was definitely not as clear. Mm-hmm. I can say that it almost sounded rough. I don't know if that was because of how they did it or how much time they spent with it. I'm not sure. And then the Lindorf and the Dirac sounded so much more smooth. Mm-hmm. And I think it was the Lindorf had more bass, but I'm not. If Croissant want to,
no, you're right. You're right about that.
Yeah, and so that might be biasing the whole result on that. Is that there was more bass, and so that's better. Well, maybe it wasn't.
Yeah. It'll probably get me for sure. Yeah.
Someone.
How about Arc though? Was that part of it?
Yes.
And how was that? You said so. You said the other ones, and then I think somebody also, I think Randall mentioned that they did one with no EQ.
Yep, no EQ.
Okay, so how about those? Nothing.
Oh yes, the no EQ was just flat. I mean, it was maybe even better than Audyssey in that case. Sorry, but
no EQ. Funny.
Hey,
if I'm remembering
there's been
right,
other tests that say the same thing.
This is where everyone did notice.
This is where Paul was like, "Where was the damn YPOW?
Where was the Yamaha? YPOW would have shown you guys how this is done." with the 4 bands of PEQ. So everybody was, being super critical and like, oh, I hear this, blah, blah, blah. Where what I noticed was, okay, these all sound more similar than I would have expected. You could hear differences, right? Mostly it was like your mid-range was low, so it sounded like, okay, wow, that's muffled.
More muffled. Yeah.
Some of them were like, oh, you got higher highs, which is like considered your vivid, lower lows, which is like your better black levels. And so people were like, oh yeah, it's vivid and black levels. Oh yeah, that's the best. And some of them were just flat overall. So it's like, oh, okay, nothing overpowered everything. But the only thing that I noticed, it really that surprisingly, and someone even mentioned this, was when the demo with Dirac was played, people literally was like, are there height speakers here? They literally were like, are there height speakers here? Because that's the one where it was like, wow, you're really hearing the tonal presence that they want you to hear in that instance. So that was so different, and that's why probably I like that one, because it was like more different than all the rest, to the point to where, wow, I'm noticing one thing different here.
So more like 3-dimensionality.
Yeah, that's what I felt like in that one.
That's so one aspect of it, you're like, oh, this is doing something different than the other ones.
A comment was, someone said, oh man, Dolby has been lying to us this whole time. We don't need height speakers. We just need, good sound on our bass layer. And I was like, well, we only have 2 ears. We don't have any ears on our head.
Yeah.
I mean,
not yet.
We have them on our head, but not on the top of our head.
Yeah. I just want to add one more thing, is that when the Audyssey was played, I heard a lot of comments of like, oh, I'm really disappointed in that. I'm really, really, really disappointed in that. And it wasn't, like just one person. It was like groups of people were talking about it, and they were just saying, I was really disappointed in Audyssey. And I don't want to harp on them, because sometimes with Magic Beans, you can get great results I hear.
Well, see, Tim is the reviewer that some of you guys want, where he's not scared. He's going to tell you as it is.
I'm going to tell you what it is. No, but the other 3 or I guess 4 were just, I can't say miles above, but we're significantly better in different ways.
I remember having Anthem room correction in here, coming off of Denon, and I was just like, whoa, like this is totally different, and like go ahead.
For each room, it could skew the correction greatly.
That's true.
So that's where I'm like, is there really a good way?
Here's another.
So what would room correction sound in an anechoic chamber?
Depends on the speaker, right?
If it was good, it would be silent.
Yeah.
You could hear the blood running through your veins. That's how. I think I remember Joe was saying this too. We were talking about this a couple of years ago. My room is not perfect, right? So that's like, if you had like a space like this where it's completely rectangular, probably a lot of the auto room corrections are going to sound pretty similar, right? But mine, where there's like all this extra space, and then we have to like turn to see our front stage, and so like the left rear surround is probably the closest speaker, along with some of the heights, to the 14 feet away. So it's I think it's going to Sean has one vein. Like, what? I saw my name.
That's why I started laughing.
Feel the blood pumping.
And you have both on that one. I think the more sophisticated the auto room correction is, the better it is for rooms that are really not as good, for setups like mine, so there's also that. There's also that nonsense too.
Yeah, and that's why I think there's a lot of room for improvement when it comes to these auto room corrections. I know what I do. I can't say all. You can't tell you all my secrets, but definitely I'm taking into account, what different rooms are doing. I'm not, it's no like, what's the target curve? I don't know. What's your room? You know what I mean? I have no idea what your room and what are your speakers doing. You have to take all that into account. I'm not sure which of the room corrections do all of that. Some do certain things better than others. But yeah, I think that's just. Oh, I was gonna say the people who are disappointed in Audyssey are probably people who have a Denon or Marantz, and they're like, "Oh, I thought my system was pretty good." But just know, quick plug, if you have one that's capable of using multi-Q, what is it? Multi-Q X. Yeah, multi-Q X is $200. joeintel.com/booking. I do manual calibration where I log in, I do the thing.
Yeah, and if you have a Yamaha, you don't need magic beans.
You don't need.
You need magic ears.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Yeah, I did it for Chana on 2 of his systems, and I think he seemed to like them.
Oh no! You know what's funny? You know what's really, really freaking weird is that Audyssey on stereo. I was doing that left, center, right test on that with that disc, where they say they have a male voice saying, "This should be coming out of your left speaker, left speaker, left speaker." Then they have a female voice saying, "Center, this should be coming out of your center." And it's only 2 channels, right? So they're imaging a center, and then a different male voice. This is right channel. This is right channel. Right channel. And you should hear it on the right hand side. That center voice wasn't in the center with Audyssey, and then I switched to Magic Beans, and it was in the center. And I'm like, what is happening here? Has this been wrong the whole time? Like, what is going on? I'm like, is this a problem with the Denon, or is this? Because I went from a Denon to then a Marantz. I'm like, or something different in the Marantz. I mean, it's all the same, should be. So it brought up a lot of questions, and I'm just amazed how much better the system sounded after Joe did the Magic Beans. And it's not anything that's like quick. The last one took like 6 hours. Yeah. So I mean, Joe, if we do it in here, it'll be really quick because all 11 speakers are the exact same speaker. So it'll be real quick. Is that a hint? No,
not just kidding. All right.
Actually, you know what? I need to change the subwoofer upstairs, so that should be easy, right? It's just subwoofer.
Really?
Because what is it? Miller and Kreisel sent me their new Dominus X12T, X12 Plus. I don't know.
Well, we're just gonna have some fun with that then. Oh, that's the thing about this stuff. It's also fun for me. Yeah. Like, I get to play with that. Yeah,
you know who's not going to be
what it does. That's cool.
It's not going to be fun for my wife because she's going to be like, "What are you 2 doing out there?"
We'll be respectful. Real quick, this is I enjoyed doing your system, Chana, because I could tell you appreciated it, right? Like I could tell you were happy, and so that makes me happy. You know
man, like when I realized when you did it the first time, I had the Martin Logan towers. Right? I had the 2 15-inch subwoofers that I still have, and we tried some 2-channel music, and we had the towers cut off at 80 hertz, and I was just like, "Oh, dude, I don't need towers anymore." Like the subwoofer, you know, I mean the Rel subwoofers have this big hump, right?
Yeah,
this is how they naturally work. And Joe got it to like smooth it, flatten it, got it down to like, what was it, 15 hertz or something like that. And they're advertised as like 24 hertz or something.
Yeah.
And so when I got the new system with the focals, and I just got bookshelf speakers because I didn't need towers. Now that I know that the Magic Beans can make the subwoofers mesh so well that I didn't need to have larger speakers up front, I was just like, oh, fantastic. Saved me money. Yeah. I mean, I still didn't pay for the focal, but it saved me money if I had to.
But you know, there's also limits to that too, right? So right now I'm testing out these monolith THX satellite speakers. They're like little cube, not that small. I would say like if you took a loaf of bread and cut it in half, about that size. So
it's pretty small.
Yeah, it's pretty small, right? Yeah. And they claim that they go down to 80 hertz, which they do, but you know, there's limitations. That's a small speaker. If I compare that to my floor standing speakers, you know, way lower sensitivity. And so there's definitely a limit. You know what I mean? Like, right. Yeah, I can make it sound like as if its full range, kind of. But it's much trickier.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's the margin for error is very low.
Well, you also said when you start off with good speakers, it's going to also be a better experience and easier to. Because I know like when we measured the Martin Logans, he's like, man, there's a pretty big dip, like throughout the mids to highs.
Yeah. So here, real quick, make sure to check out our audio-only version of the podcast at anchor.fm/Daily HiFi, or just go to your favorite podcasting service and search for Daily HiFi.